city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Oh. My goodness. Brendan, everybody, welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. This is our trade deadline special. And my goodness, what a day it has already been. Brandon, I can see it written all over your face, and I can see it in the pot of coffee you are pouring yourself. If you're anything like Brendan and I, you've probably not gotten much sleep in the last 24 to 48 hours. And the Avalanche making a trade last night mid-game against the mid-legendary performance from Cale Makar. They've continued to make deals today as Charlie Coyle comes through the wire just before we started and are going live, which is excellent timing for us, my friend Brendan. Brendan, thank you so much for joining me. I think Jackie will be joining us, and it remains to be seen who else will join the program today. We've got a lot in store for the folks. First things first, man. Let's start with the crazy, the bad, and the ugly, which if you look over my shoulder, you'll see my division rivalry third jersey for Mikko Rantanen, who is now a member of a division rival in the Dallas Stars. What's your initial reaction to that, Brennan?
No. I don't like it.
Just no.
No. I can't cheer for green. I don't like the victory green. Never have. But I'm happy for him. He got his contract. Good for him. And it's it makes sense that he is in Dallas because it is no state tax. So I think that's part of the reason why the push was there, because it's going to make him. I bookmarked it.
It was like $3 million extra and change. Yeah.
3.64 over 8.
Right.
And I mean that's not small. That's not chump change. So you can't blame him. And then of course the agent pushing for that he's going to make a good percentage of that too. So with escrow being gone, it's going to be even more that he's going to make out of it. So you
Right.
can't blame him for pushing for Dallas where there's no state tax. And this has been debated that does Dallas and Florida and Tampa have an advantage
Mm-hmm.
over everyone because of that? And in this circumstance, they did.
Yeah. Right now it feels like it. But I mean, I think it's so hard right now to place blame because I think both sides are entitled to what they did.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are kind of getting caught up in the like, oh, who's won, who's going to win this trade, and I don't want to dump on it, but I mean, if there's really a loser in this, it's Carolina. I think the Avalanche got a great player in Marty Necas. Carolina did get those 2 firsts, which is pretty nice. And that's no slight against Stankoven, and I think he's a great young center as well. But I think the Dallas Stars, among the teams kind of out there that are true contenders, I think you could make a pretty strong argument that Dallas is one really big top 6 piece away from being very, very serious contenders. And I'm an Avalanche fan, and I hate saying that, but I also can see their roster. Mikko is probably going to play on the second line wing for the Dallas Stars. I mean, it could be that he ends up a first liner at some point, but as it sits kind of right now, he's looking like he might be a winger. And then, of course, they're doing the LTIR dance with Tyler Seguin, who apparently, according to our Slack chat, is looking pretty good. So they're in prime position. And now you see the Avalanche doing their bidding, going and getting Charlie Coyle in exchange for Casey Middlestat. I think the Avs are leaning pretty hard into our grit per 60. I don't know if Vaguely Sober is awake yet, but the Avs are bringing in grit and character and size, it appears. Casey Middlestat for Charlie Coyle is a clear indication of that. Charlie Coyle is an energy guy, and he's a big frame, not afraid to get in front of the net, an assistant captain in Boston, somebody who brings leadership qualities, somebody who should fit in pretty well with a guy like Val Nichushkin. I mean, that kind of turns into a tank line at this point. What is your interpretation of what the Avs did with the Charlie Coyle for Casey Middlestat deal, Brennan?
Well, and he knows what it takes to win. He has been on successful teams since high school, so it's not like he's a slack and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's been a bottom 6, mid 6 player his whole career, but he knows what it takes to be successful in the league and everything. So
Right.
I can't remember who he played with in high school in Boston, but in the Boston area, but God, was it Greer or was it someone else?
It might have been Greer. Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest with you. I
mean, he's been in the leagues for so long that it's yeah.
Well,
I mean, he was on the
and
all rookie team when he was in college, and he got the bronze medal and the U20s and the World Juniors, and
right.
he was the champion in the Q. He knows what it takes.
Totally. Well, and the other thing is, we talked about the long-term, short-term rental, that whole debate that always gets brought up as you approach the deadline. And I mean, he's not a true rental because he's at least signed through next season as well, Mr. Coyle.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not just like the Brock Nelson situation is more of, let's see how the end of this season goes. If it's a good fit, perhaps we'll approach a 1 to 3 year type of deal given his age. The difference in this situation is it's Charlie Coyle, who is, also 33, but he has that 1 year you're looking for. I'm not sure if there was any retention that
it hasn't been announced yet.
But
if there has been,
and Casey Middlestat's contract was, let's look.
Well, and usually Saravelli and
575. So the Avs are saving 500,000 if it's a straight up cap for cap sort of endeavor. So
yeah, usually it's Saravelli or LeBron that announces that there's been retention, and I haven't seen neither one announced anything on retention yet. So I think it's going to be an increase, or no, he makes $500,000 less.
If it's just across the board, if there's no retention at all, which is probably more likely, the Avs save about $500,000 a year. And Charlie's contract will be up a year sooner than exactly his contract will be up a year sooner than Casey Middlestat's was set to, since the Avs did the trade and sign with Middlestat. So they pretty much just flipped that contract into a older guy who has a more playoff experience, more character, more size, and somebody they feel can really fit into playoff hockey, which I like. It's not too long ago where the Avs had issues where they weren't heavy enough in the playoffs.
And he's got that grit per 60.
Exactly. And I didn't want that to resurface, but let's get back to the Rantanen conversation, because we have a lot to cover today and lots of time. And let's see, what time is it right now? It's 12:39, so there's still about 21 minutes.
We've got about 2.5 hours for me at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 21 minutes till the deadline, but as we all know, the deals don't just stop at 1 o'clock. They kind of just keep on rolling through as that ticker just starts and just keeps rolling. So we'll be here for you folks in the event that the Avs make another move, and we will continue to analyze the moves they've made so far. And if you are watching this broadcast, there's about 2,000 of you already, and we're only 10 minutes in. So thank you folks so much for joining us. Please head on over to milehighhockey.com and check out all of our written material. We have breaking news pieces for all of the trades that the Avalanche have made today. So be on the lookout for those, and stay tuned here for the next hour or so, maybe even more, as the deals continue to roll through. But Brennan, let's get back to the conversation about what happened with Mikko Rantanen.
Well, first off, Brock is on the ice at FSC.
So he's on the docket. Looks like he's going to play. That's good news.
And he is wearing old man number 11.
Nice. Beautiful.
According to the roster this morning that I saw. So
that's cool. That's cool. Number 11 for Mr. Brock Nelson. I like it. I like it a lot. So I guess Avs fans, go make your jerseys right now if you want to.
Yep.
I mean, they might not be for sale, but
McKinnon he was too selfish to give up his number.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, back to
McKinnon, humble up, kid. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but no, let's talk about the Rantanen situation. So this is really like a saga officially. There's 3 teams involved, right? So he's in Colorado. It sounds to me like the reports of him being kind of blindsided aren't that far off. But as I kind of alluded to earlier, I feel like both sides were entitled to make the decision they made as it pertains to Mikko and the Colorado Avalanche. Now, with the Hurricanes and Mikko Rantanen, they lost out on Marty Necas. And, of course, they've added 2 first-round picks. When we are adding the voice of reason to our broadcast today,
literally at the right time,
or at least an opposition of what we've had so far kind of on our programming. Jackie K, thank you for joining the program. How are you today?
We'll see. I was out. I'm just seeing that Middlestat's gone, so that's it's a win in my book, but what else?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, you've kind of had a couple of other faces on the radar, to include like Sam Malinsky. So we'll see about that. But
Nathan McKinnon just got traded.
Yeah,
no, just joking.
Don't be saying that.
But the look on Ado's face.
well, Jackie, I do want to pivot a little bit, because we were about to talk about Rantanen. I do want your take on that, but I want to pivot to last night's trade, because you were not a part of our trade deadline special. We did speak on your behalf, quoted you from the Slack chat, because we wanted to be sure you were heard in some capacity.
Zellers. That's hilarious.
So
so there goes all your prospects.
So speaking of losing prospects, how are you feeling today now that Cal Ritchie has indeed been traded?
Let's just say my position hasn't changed in the last 12 hours. How do I even sum it up? Like we went through it on our show just a few days ago, how Richie was their only chance at keeping up. And these moves reek of desperation to me. Like, it was out there how interested teams were in Nelson, and that Winnipeg had their first on the table. They're one of the few, what everyone calls contenders. I don't consider the Avs a contender, but what other people consider contenders, they're one of the few that still had their first for this year. So you have to think about, yes, you can always trade later picks. It's called time value of money. The value of a pick, the further out in future it goes, becomes less valuable. So that's one of the problems with trading picks in 2026, 27, etc.
Right.
So knowing that, I even had told my husband, who cared zero about hockey, that there's going to be this bidding war for this over the hill guy. And then I had to tell him the Avs had to win that bidding war because they couldn't just let Winnipeg and
now Dallas
get that. So that's why I feel like it's desperation. Like, it wasn't a move that, as McFarland always likes to say, makes sense. This move doesn't make sense. It's desperation. And if you couple that with how they've been acting for the last full calendar year, every move they make is just one more digging that hole of desperation. Like, you can pin it together. Nelson also had to happen because Middlestat was a failure. I think we can call it that. So
now officially, I would say you can call it that. Yeah.
Yes. So we can put that one on the board, make it official. The Middlestat acquisition was a failure. So we had to keep stitching it down the line because we have to keep filling that hole over and over and over again. And we're giving up more and more assets, future value, etc. So, the question is Nelson a pure rental? We don't know. We know that the Avs like to, they pay a lot for somebody to like to retain someone. So I'm going to guess that's something they'll think about, but given his age, given that the Islanders did offer him something, what is he looking for? Right. Are the Avs going to give that? It's just, this goes into so many things that I hate. I hate rentals. And like I said, we'll see if he's a rental or not. But if you, and then you look at what an extended Rantanen got versus what the Avs had to give up for 20 games of a, 33-year-old. That's just, if you were okay giving up the last assets they had, like truly that's it now, and you end up with Nelson. Like, this isn't even like, okay, we threw him away, but we got Crosby. At least we could have fun with Crosby. This isn't even Marchand. I'm kind of ambivalent to Marchand, but at least I could say that's interesting. Never in my life have I ever thought, what if Brock Nelson was on this team? How cool would that be? What if he wore an Avalanche sweater? Never. Not once did it cross my mind. I actually made a joke. I think I made a joke in the fall that I don't want to hear justification that it's okay that Rantanen walks and we'll be okay because we'll just sign Brock Nelson in free agency. I actually said that. If someone can find that, I actually said
we'll
that.
Find
we
it.
Are not that
we
far
got transcripts.
Yeah. I know that the missing piece here is Netchas, which we have, but everyone keeps forgetting he still needs to get paid, and he's still going to be a pending free agent. So that part of we won the trade, and also the logic, we'll get to Rantanen, the logic that just because Carolina traded him means the Avs won the trade, that's faulty logic. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. I don't think that's, if you're applying that sentiment towards how I started the show, that's not my logic, but I understand your point there. Brendan, yes, what you got for us? Sorry, Jackie.
So Puckpedia just tweeted out that with the deal that the Avs save $500K with the trade and now have 1.84 in cap space.
But what are they doing? So they traded another second. I was just out, so I literally haven't seen it. So, but just to wrap up the whole Nelson thing, it's just like, why? It's not even about being, clutching to the assets as I'm accused of at times. But it's why. How does this team get better? And I don't want to hear that they got better because Nelson's a better player than Middlestat. Like, how are they better in the future? What are they going to spend next year? Like, we're going to have the Crosby talks. What is he coming for? A 4th-round pick? Like, what's left? Or, or okay, sure, we can trade the 2027 first. You don't think another team out there has a better asset than that?
Brad Marchand.
Well, Jackie, I honestly think that like you've answered your own question, and I think you're keying on something that's 100% accurate, which is that it's an act of desperation, and that it only makes sense because they're fixing a mistake that they already made, right? And you've alluded to that as well. I do think, because I know for a fact, Jackie, you're against the Band-Aid. And
I don't, and I
that's
see,
exactly what this is, and it could result in success, but it'll still be a
won't.
Band-Aid. I mean, the odds are not on the Avalanche side. Winning the Stanley Cup is hard. They've done it 3 times in over 20 some odd years, so it's not easy, and it's easy to assume that no matter what they do, they can still come up short. So I think you're onto something when you say it's important to consider the long term. But I also think you're onto something when you explain it by the fact that they're desperately trying to keep up in an arms race. And the pressure point for this whole thing that allows them to justify doing so is number 8 and number 29.
Well, see,
whether or not that's right or wrong, I think that is, in their minds, the justification.
But here's just what I say to that, and then we can move on for now from this. But I see that as the argument. They're doing right by them. I say they're not doing right by them. This is not their last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing right by them by building
That's a good point.
Building a contender like they did. So a bunch of instant gratification, as you said, Band-Aids. They're still going to be here. They're still going to be here for however long Makar signs for. What if he even, it's not a guarantee. What if he even says there's nothing left here? How is this team going to get better?
It's
not a guarantee Makar signs.
And that'll do it for today's broadcast. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we are all checking out right now.
How are you doing? How are you? You're the one steering the ship. If you have players coming to you saying, we need something, we need more, we need now, you're the one that has to think about how this team was built. This team wasn't built overnight. This team took 5 years for when they started making the playoffs again, that they added depth year after year after year, and they finally had a team good enough to win the cup. Mm-hmm. This is not what they're doing. This is like, you are making it worse for them down the line.
Yeah. And I don't think you're necessarily wrong about that.
So it's just this year. It's about validation.
1,000%.
It's about optics. It's about looking good. It's
It's also about like looking good to them, because as much as I think you're right about considering the long term, we're talking about hockey players. Look at Gabe Landeskog.
Then get a better name. At least if they had gotten Marchand, I don't think it matters either. But you could at least say, hey, we got Brad Marchand. If they're, I know they're going to roll out and try to sell Brock Nelson, who everybody made fun of. It looked like he just came out of the crypt.
We did.
Which I think is I wasn't a part of that. But
I think it was all in good fun. No one was quite.
But the whole hockey world talked about how he should be at a retirement home, literally. And now we're gonna sell that we're going for it. We're all in because we got this guy from the New York Islanders of all places. And the other thing is, he's been there his entire career. Mm-hmm. The human aspect of this matters too. You're going to get a guy who was very emotional when thinking about leaving the place that he's played his entire career. You think he's just going to hit the ground running with the Avs and all their mercenaries? It
remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Like, I can acknowledge that where you're coming from, there is merit, but we don't actually know yet. So it could very well be that this situation works out very well, in which case we will change our tune pretty quickly, I think,
I mean,
especially
I
if we do
don't.
another one of those things that's hanging behind Brennan. I think
Brock Nelson's wearing a burgundy second line sweater.
so.
Well,
There's
I
your
mean, yeah, you would
2C.
make.
Charlie Coyle's your 3C, and Jack Drury's your 4C. So you have three players up the middle that you didn't have, to Jackie's point, in terms of the mercenaries. Your whole the three bottom centers are new players as far as it's considered.
And you think that's a team?
But
I pose this
I
question.
do think they're all an upgrade, though. I mean, I do think they've upgraded up the middle. I don't think there's any arguing that for now, right? Is the point, though.
I will say, at what point, the joke is always like you root for laundry. At what point are we really looking at that? Like, this is laundry. At a truly, people are going to say I'm reactionary, but this is not a new thought or feeling I've had.
I don't think. I think if you watch our show, this is exactly what you would expect you to. I mean,
I know that people don't like that. They just want the hype. They want the excitement. We're going for it. Like, they have a chance to win the cup until they don't. I get it, and I'm sorry, I'm not that person, but
you're not the only one, though. That's why I love having you on our show, because I'm the glass is full when it's half full. You know what I mean? Like that's my approach to watching the Avalanche and covering the Avalanche and being a fan of the Avs. Is I like to see the optimistic side, but there's a realism to life, and in being a fan, you should inherit some of that realism when you walk into the arena and when you buy a jersey, because the realism might stop you from buying a Rantanen jersey. And that's not to say like don't buy Avs jerseys, but
I mean, I would say don't.
you have to you have to consider the fact that this is a business, and a guy that you get attached to could be gone in a month's time, and you might not see it coming whatsoever. I explained this to Brennan last night, Jackie, because Brennan was with you. He was very upset last night that Cal Ritchie was a part of that deal for Brock Nelson. And I told him, I said, well, imagine if Cal Ritchie became a superstar, a Stanley Cup champion, a 50 goal scorer, and then got traded, because that's what Mikko Rantanen is. And so in the same year, you trade someone who realized that inner development, like draft, develop, become a superstar. Mikko Rantanen is kind of like the poster child for that in Colorado, one of the very few. And so he did all those things, and it felt like Cal Ritchie was the next one slotted to do exactly that. And in the same year, you've gotten rid of both of those components as it pertains to your assets. Now, the question is this really an attempt to make up, quote unquote, make up for it in the aggregate, as McFarland has mentioned in the past? Brandon, what is your reaction to that?
Well, first off, I also mentioned that Carolina got rid of Rantanen because it was the fact that, he's going to break up with us in like 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, the Rantanen's a whole nother one that I have thoughts on.
Well, go ahead, Jackie. Let's talk about the Rantanen debacle. Do you feel it feels like you don't feel like the Hurricanes did as bad as kind of the rest of the world is sentimental right now?
I mean, no, it is a debacle for their side because of the pressure, the all in, the make a move, it's all about this year. I mean, the Avs have clearly, this is it, I guess, because there's no coming back from this.
They're all in. They're all in again. And you know what? Speaking of being all in, we are about 2.5 minutes away from the trade deadline officially closing. So we'll see if there remains. Sorry, Jackie, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I'm trying to see here. Yeah, 2 minutes and 53 seconds according to NHL Network. So is there anything that's come through in the last, 10 minutes that we should touch on? Maybe not even Avs related.
I haven't even had a chance to look, so I guess we'll have to circle back.
Well, there is a report that Wyatt Johnston has agreed to a 5-year contract with the Dallas Stars. So they didn't involve him in the trade, much to the excitement of Dallas Stars fans. Although, Jackie, I think you were a big proponent of Stankoven, and he's a little bit of that youthful. But the Dallas Stars have plenty of youthful yeah,
Oh, he
production
wasn't
with
even
Harley.
near their
Yeah.
best one. Like Robertson and Johnston are the big ones. Like
With Harley coming up on the back end too, so
the
they're
fact that
looking.
they didn't have to give up Johnston, and the other thing, they're going to get an extension, which makes sense that he was going to be their next big expense. But
Well, Jackie, let's do this. What about the Charlie Coyle move for Casey Middlestat? Tell me what you think about the fit. I know you've mentioned that it's at least an admission of failure on the Middlestat trade, but are you excited about Charlie Coyle's presence?
I don't. I mean, first of all, you have to tell me his contract status. And second of all, the fact that they included Sellers.
So he's got another year, and
Yeah.
the Avs will save $500,000 for that year.
So that means he signed at like 5 point something for next
Correct.
year.
30
Yeah.
seconds.
Correct.
I honestly, I need to wrap my brain around that. I mean, so the second
Yeah.
they give up is this year's second because that's all they have.
Mhm.
So this year they're going to have a draft with a 4th round pick and a 7th round pick.
Well, here goes the
And-
deadline in about 20 seconds, Brandon.
Well,
Five.
there'll be deals rolling in after that.
3, 2, 1, 0, and there goes the trade
Okay.
deadline. But yes,
Got it.
It's
Yeah.
truly the most horrifying day of the year. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon,
and
you
now it's
haven't.
just paperwork.
Yeah, we haven't gotten your take in a minute.
Well, we
here.
haven't let Jackie finish. It's
Yeah,
just- we need to let Jackie finish.
yeah, Jackie, finish up on. Well, you said you needed some time to kind of gather your thoughts on the Charlie Coyle move, so I'm going to allow you to do that while we kind of touch on Brandon, see what Brandon thinks of that maneuver. We talked about him being an energy guy. Talked about the Avs looking more playoff ready than they were in terms of the Middlestat for Coyle exchange. Can you elaborate on that? And what have you seen from Charlie Coyle that you're excited to see him do in Burgundy and Blue?
Well, I think now that the bottom 6 is looking a little bit more solid, and I compared to my comments last night, I think they're a little bit more ready to get further into the playoffs. If they do win the Stanley Cup, I will eat a shoe.
I will provide you that shoe.
Yeah, you got to drive up. You got to drive up, and we'll do it in my basement together.
We'll drink a beer from it first, but then you'll
Yeah,
eat
we
the
got to
shoe.
do the Lecky thing.
Yeah.
But some no name just got signed for San Jose 10 minutes ago. Oh, goalie. But I've always liked Charlie Coyle. He's just been one of those like off the radar type guys that he's a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just I've always liked his style of play. He always goes out and hits you and knows what it takes to get the pucks in deep in the zone and just a physical player, kind of like I am. So,
Hey, well, I like the concept of like if he's your 2C and you got Nuke on the wing. This might be weird. I know
Breaking.
Gabe. Oh, here
Like,
we
why
go.
wasn't that good enough? Like, why couldn't they have just done that?
Brad Marchand to Florida.
The Panthers at it again,
Where are they getting all this?
dude. They're Florida, baby, just like Dallas. As we
Well,
Because
my
they
question.
have assets. Because you win the cup and you still have assets. Would have thought.
Yeah, yeah, that's a weird thing.
So Marchand
Like-
is off the board. He'll be licking faces in Florida.
That was
Like-
as of 53 seconds ago from Elliot Friedman.
If they had just gotten rid of Middlestat for Coyle, why couldn't that have been good enough?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good question.
Well, and I think the Chuck is he hasn't come back yet from Four Nations, has he?
No, they said he's out for the rest of the season.
So it looks like the Avs did get a 5th rounder back from
So
Boston.
he's LTIR, so they're using that money probably.
And what was the return for
Well,
Marchand?
they
we'll
haven't.
see.
They're working on it. Last minute possibility is what it's saying.
Brandon, Jackie, We have 5,000 live viewers right now.
Wow.
So
I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I'm sorry that you
No.
couldn't listen to me.
Thank you to the 5,000 of you. No, Jackie, like the last thing I want to do is not give someone like you a platform, because alternative opinions are important, especially in the sports world. It's a balance, right? There's a balance to all of this. If you go too far in the one direction, you can set yourself up for some real heartbreak. And I think it's good that as a program, we don't all just start mimicking each other in optimism, because there's people out there that do that in this industry, and we're not them. The beauty in what we do is that we're independent, so we get to speak in that matter. So to the 5,100 of you now, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Mile High Hockey Lab. I'm Adrian Hernandez. I'm with Brendan Vogt and Jackie K on trade deadline day 2025. Couple of deals for the Avalanche that are noteworthy. They did some work before the deadline with securing VC and Lindgren. The lineup is starting to form up. I do think the Avs still have some business to do on the back end. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a depth defender acquired here in the next 20, 30 minutes.
That sounds like an Avenger.
Yeah, depth defender. Yeah, it does. Well, and while I have your attention, please head on over to milehighhockey.com. We have all of our written material. We do recaps, roundtables, opinion pieces, previews, all that good stuff if you prefer the written form. And if you prefer being a part of our community that is very, very strong these days, and that we love very much over there at the website. So if you're also on X, give us a follow at all caps MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. Now let's get back to the deadline. We just said that Marchand has officially been traded to the Florida Panthers.
No, not officially. Not officially. Working on.
Oh, last minute possibility. It says.
Yeah. You got to watch the language there, man.
Yeah, I know. We did that last night, but as it turns out, Rantanen did end up in Dallas. Evan had me going. I was like, that just happened already.
Well,
but
and then it fell through.
Yeah.
And then Brock Besser is staying in Vancouver.
Okay.
Per Frank Saravelli.
The Jets did get Luke Shen, and I believe they got Tanev as well. So the Jets are doing their own loading inside of the Central.
LeBron is also reporting the Brad Marchand pending call.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
Florida's going to be a pain.
Who's still on the board? Armia maybe, or did he go somewhere?
I am not sure. I have got like 20 screens going, so
I know. I'm over here on X Pro and just trying so hard.
I need like a 5-screen setup here.
Well,
so.
we have so many live viewers right now, and we've gotten a couple of comments that I want to bring to the table. Victoria on X, Victoria Medina says, he is the enemy now. I am assuming you're referring to Mikko Rantanen. And Scott Wilson, a longtime listener and viewer of our program, has said the whole point is to try to win the cup now. Future is low on the priority list. The now is everything. And Jackie, you just have a philosophical bone to pick with that. And I think that you're not alone. The long term is important. And, a lot of us get caught thinking too short term, being too short sighted, just in life, much less in business. So we'll see how this sorts out for the Colorado Avalanche. But Jackie, I do want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead, just take the floor.
Okay. About the future is now. I mean, I'm not talking about, I hope they have a good team in 2030. Like I said, McKinnon and Makar's primes in window is not this year. Their prime and window, let's say, is the rest of this decade. What happens the rest of this decade matters. If you truly think this year, this team is special, this is the one to bet on. This is the one that has the best chance of doing it the rest of this decade. Does anybody truly believe that we have seen the best version of the Avalanche this season? A team that maybe because of their win, they're tied with Minnesota, that as of last night was 4th in their division, is worth. You're sacrificing McKinnon and Makar the rest of their prime. You're taking away from their chance next year and the year after and the year after. So it's not about like, just don't be terrible 10 years from now. It's you are undermining their chance at a legacy because you have to have instant gratification right now. And
Yeah,
that's how I
and
feel about that.
That's what it's about with this generation.
yeah, well, and I mean, let's not pretend Chris McFarland is of this generation, but I mean, if you consider fans stakeholders, then yeah,
He's going to
How
have a
old
lot
is
to
he?
answer to. Like
he's
next
definitely
year.
not a kid. You know what I mean? If that's what you're getting at, the instant gratification thing. I mean, if this blows up in his face, the seat gets really hot really quickly,
I don't
Jack.
think so, because the
no,
organization doesn't fire anybody. The organization can't pay for multiple people in that position. I don't know when McFarland signed his contract, but Bednar just signed it at very expensive extension. So, when this team loses twice in a row again, where the Bednar thing's going to come back up, is the seat hot? First of all, they're not going to pay two coaches, and second of all, they're not going to pay a big name coach. So that's the other thing, is McFarland might feel this desperation. He's not getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going anywhere. This organization is insular, and they stick with what they know. But yet we're out here acting like this is it. This is the last
Sorry, Jackie.
hurrah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but according to Elliot Friedman, Marchand to Florida, period, it's happening. So it's
Well, I
And Leafs
want
get
to hear the
Carlo.
return. I want to hear the return on that. That's the important part. But
And
moving
and
in,
Carlo's
into-
going to Toronto.
okay. So there's another potential.
who was
but I
going to
think
Toronto?
Brandon
Carlo.
Carlo. He was another one that was.
Well,
kind of
that was actually a decent piece from Boston. As always, the return matters. But as far as Rantanen, this is when I get. This is not just a today philosophical question. This is a long range one. At what point is it laundry? At what point is your loyalty to literal laundry? At what point do you have an emotional connection to a team just because of somebody? Yeah, because they're getting a paycheck from the same people. At what point is it a team? At what point is it your team? At what point does this team have your loyalty? Is it blind? Is it just because whoever puts on the A, no matter what, that's your team? And some people are like that. That's awesome. But to me, I think this brings up a big question of what is loyalty? Who are you loyal to and why? Is it just because the Avs have dressed 50? They will pretty much have dressed 50 players.
44.
Means that, well, they were at 45, where I'm counting Mandolese because he did dress.
Yeah, and Nelson hasn't yet, but will.
Nelson and Coyle, so we're at
Coyle.
47. Just because they dressed 47 players, is that loyalty? So although people saying like F you, Rantanen, why am I a less loyal person because I have an emotional attachment and believe in him as a player? Or
I don't think so.
Do I have to have an emotional attachment and believe in Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle and Casey Middlestat? At what point, do I not have to do that? Because I don't want to do that. Because I don't have that inside of me. And do I have to pretend? I believe in guys that I saw get drafted. I saw them come through the system. I watched them raise the cup. So if I still have love in my heart and believe in people like Byram, Rantanen, even if
Kadri,
I believe in, say, Cal
Zadorov.
Ritchie. Well,
maybe not
those
Zadorov.
guys, yes, we still like them. We like anybody that raised the cup.
I know what you mean.
But people that were our guys. They're with us from the beginning.
Homegrown.
We saw something in them. They grew. So, I think it's funny to automatically say F you, Rantanen, because I don't think he did anything wrong. The whole
I don't
overplayed his hand, that's BS. The whole his agent did him wrong, that's BS.
I don't think he overplayed his hand. I think that McFarland pulled the trigger sooner than he thought he would. And which I thought he pulled the trigger sooner than I thought he would have to as well.
They were in secrecy. That was the reporting. Nobody knew that it was coming down. Nobody, like other teams didn't know, like truly get your offer in because this is going down. They didn't know. And so And the fact that he signed for 12 million, that just shows the Avs didn't get there. The Avs weren't at 12 million. The Friedman report was their last offer was 11.75, and I think this corroborates that.
Yeah.
Now, they say that Carolina offered him in the 13s. So that kind of tells you it wasn't all about money. Everyone thought he just wants to be a free agent. He wants the wine and dine.
I thought that was wrong. Yeah, I thought that was wrong. I thought Dallas would have to show him an exorbitant figure to get him there, and then it comes in $250,000 over what the Avs offered AAV, and I'm like, well, maybe I should shut up for 2 hours. I don't know.
But it's been an ordeal. People don't I mean, the human part of this is when it happened with it's almost like polar opposites. The Avs, it was so secretive, and the whole like, oh, there's no way he was blindsided. I absolutely was blindsided.
What do we got?
EJ's coming back.
Are you serious?
My God.
Per Elliot Friedman, Elliot Friedman, not a fake one. EJ's coming back.
Oh man.
Oh,
that's awesome, but also
he's played like since he had his 1,000th game retirement in early November. I think he's played 8 games.
Oh, yeah, so, he'll be a deep defenseman, but
yeah, that's
sorry to interrupt, Jackie, and I keep doing it. That's a big one. I'm sorry. It's just
this is a live broadcast of a trade deadline. I think anybody in these knows at some point you're probably going to get interrupted by the news. So we're good, Brendan. No sweat on that.
But just to finish on the Ranton thing, I know we want to move on from it, but there's just so many things baked into it, so many narratives, so many. Like I said, there's no way he could have been blindsided. Yeah, he absolutely was blindsided. Who thought that he was gonna the fight? This is it, take it or leave it, was gonna be in January, and then you have Carolina, extremely public. He's talked about every single day. Like he's been very good with the media. He wouldn't even talk yesterday. I mean, and people don't realize, maybe at the time he was just like, just end it, because at some point, is this good enough? How much is it worth being speculated about for the next 3 months? How much is it worth? So maybe his position had changed. It wasn't because, he found out he wasn't worth it. I mean, if he get the unrestricted market, his value wasn't going to be any different. But
yeah, well, it looks like it's official. I agree with you, Jackie, on that. There is so much, as you put it, baked into the Rantanen situation. It remains to be seen, in my opinion, how truly that will sort out for the respective teams that have been a part of that. I called it a saga, Jackie, because there's 3 teams now, so it's officially a saga.
And the Carolina part of it, I do think they got spooked. I think their initial thought process of trading for him, I don't disagree with that, because people don't realize the Netchus thing has been tough for them. He was basically like a pending UFA for them. They knew they weren't going to keep him. They knew that he wasn't going to be signed long term. I mean, he had the holdout. He also had a holdout. They agreed on the 2 years just to say, hey, if you sign for 2 years, we can move you. So people don't realize he was their own kind of like headache that they had to move on from. So I think their thinking was right there, but they did get spooked because now they're in a worse position going into this year's playoffs.
They lost the two best players.
Now they don't have either. Right. And so I think you had to be one or the other. You had to be comfortable with saying, this guy could be a rental and we'll see. I think he just kept saying, I just want time. He's been pressured this whole time. Just see how it goes. See how the year plays out. I don't think he was ever like, nope, I'm just going for the money. And I think him signing this shows that he wasn't, I don't care about the money. I just want to be the highest paid whatever.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the EJ. Elliot Friedman officially says at 1:13 p.m., feel great story. Here in Colorado is bringing back Eric Johnson.
For what?
We'll see. That remains to be seen. But I do want to say with this Eric Johnson thing, like Jackie, you talk about how this team to you is difficult to root for. There's 7,000 people watching us live right now, so thank you so much to all 7,000.
So they saw my girlish reaction.
Yeah,
I think that's artificial to appease that, because now we need a heartstrings.
Yeah,
I don't know. EJ's not that player. Like I said, he's played 8 games.
Yeah, well,
since
then,
there's
no arguing with that, no doubt. But
he's an ornament. So he's back now to be an ornament.
Get him
No.
another
Let
cup.
me tell you where my head's at here. We have talked about before that the Avalanche lost a lot of character when they saw some of the pieces that left after the Stanley Cup leave. That's to include Gabe Landeskog. That's to include Nazem Kadri, JT Compher, Andrew Cogliano, Eric Johnson, which, if you remember, Eric Johnson was a huge part of the locker room in Colorado. And he's kind of like an extension of Gabe Landeskog. They're that close as buddies. So to see that happen in a time where the Avs are without Gabe Landeskog, to get and start leaning into more of that character side of available free or trade targets, to me that is appealing. And these are guys that, although you're 100% correct, like right now there's no story to cling to here. The homegrown factor is not there. But I tell you what, when next Sunday rolls around and this Avalanche team is iced against that Dallas team, I can promise you that I'm going to be rooting for the Colorado Avalanche, and the story is going to make itself from here until the end of the playoffs based on how all of this has gone down with the Mikko Rantanen thing. Brendan, what you got for us, bro?
Evan Rawl just said
Can't hear you.
Devontae's just made a condor signal. Can you hear him? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Evan just said that Devontae's made a condor signal while coming off the ice. So the players have heard it.
Nice. So it matters to them a little bit. It's their buddy. Yeah. That's their buddy.
When you come on, it's the bro ship.
Yeah. Which, okay, Jackie, let's talk about that. So you're saying artificial. It's optic. It's all about optics still.
Yeah, it's so artificial. Like, this is all, plus, the Landy commercials now. It is just, there's nothing authentic about this team. It is. Yeah. And that's why I say, at what point do you have to make a decision for yourself that you're not going to be a part of this game any longer? You're not going to be manipulated. You're not going to be sold these narratives. You're not going to be sold lies, because there's lies. And you're not going to be... Right, now we're bringing EJ back. What if it's for Malinsky? Because, right-hander for right-hander. You going to be down with that?
No, that I will not be excited about. No.
And here's the way I look at it is that
maybe it's that second they got.
EJ could,
or fifth,
well, more than likely fifth, but he could push Landeskog over that hump that he finally needs.
But is it real? If Landy steps on the ice for a playoff game, yes, good for him. But I've always said, and I've said this for years, that's not the finish line. The finish line is that he's an NHL regular player on this team. And I get there's no roster, there's no cap implications. It's his chance to just say, I'm at whatever percent. I'm going to suit up and see how much I can grit out. I'm fine with that. Like, I do think that he needs that for him. But I'm not calling it a win that for this team, that if that's what it is, because I need to see a real, actual, regular player that could be a cap hit next year, hit the ice like a normal player on training camp, and hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's still artificial. Like I said, good for him. I get it, but I'm not getting caught up in it. That we're back and everyone's back and we've reunited. EJ and Landy. I mean, why not just bring Paul Stastny out of retirement? Just like what limit do we have?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
that doesn't really excite me because he hasn't even been a player this year. Like he's been an ornament in Philadelphia. He was an ornament just to get to his 1,000th game. And now to bring an ornament back because it has storyline, I just can't get behind that.
Jackie, I'm feeling for you right now because I feel like I'm not taking anything away from what you're saying, because you've been hammering this home all year since the summertime. You've been talking about this topic. But I can tell that you are just frustrated. You're a frustrated person right now based on the way the Avalanche and we saw it coming with the Cal Ritchie thing and I hate to do this to you guys. I'm going to give myself a ding real fast.
Oh no,
Because
I'm coming for a ding too, and you know what my ding is.
Yeah,
Well, first of
yeah,
all,
yeah,
I got one on the bingo card. I knew somebody had to come back.
yeah, yeah.
Second of
Well,
all, I believed in Nathan McKinnon when you all were going to
yeah.
give me the X.
All right, so let's do
Hey,
that
hey,
now.
hey, hey,
Boom.
wait.
There's your
No, no, no.
I
McKinnon.
was
Nobody believed in Nathan McKinnon but me.
I misinterpreted your claim. I even wrote it down wrong. And in fact I wrote about it in the preview wrong. So I apologize, but that was your ding. I'll give it to you again. Boom.
I did say
That's
trade deadline because I didn't know if we were going to have a show
you did.
before the trade deadline. So I was
You
giving
did.
that was 4 games too. It's not like I gave myself. I think for him to do it twice in 4 games was
Well, we are now joined by one of our handsome contributors, Mr. Ezra Parter. I am already and currently joined by Jackie K and Brennan Bowe, and my name is Adrian Hernandez. You are tuned in to Mile High Hockey's 2025 NHL trade deadline special. Ezra, you were a part of last night's instant trade reaction to the Brock Nelson move. And a part of that last night, you were kind of keying on Brandon Carlo. Well, he is now a Toronto Maple Leaf. But the Avalanche, you were right. We're going to deal with the Boston Bruins. And you were leaning on that heavily last night. Tell me what you think about the acquisition of Charlie Coyle.
Well, first off, I believe I get a ding for this.
Yes.
I think I get another ding too because
Thank
they
you.
said they'd
Oh, we're
make 2
just
trades today.
handing out dings, baby. Dings galore.
Charlie Coyle was not who I wanted from Boston. It was Carlo or Morgan Geekie. I really wanted it to be Morgan Geekie, but I had a feeling it was
Brad
gonna be Carlo.
Marchand.
No. He's in Florida now. Man, I don't mind Charlie Coyle. He's a good third line center. I like the fit. I like the player. I don't like the cost. And this is the second straight deal where it's like, okay, I see the vision, but man, they're spending a lot to get these players who are old, and that's frustrating. I definitely think Colorado's lineup this season is way better based on these trades. But
Are they just way better because they don't because Middlestat's not on the team anymore?
I mean, I like
Kinda.
Middlestat.
I mean, Shillington's not on the team, so yes, if you ask me that question about him. And although I'll say EJ's not moving the needle for me there, given that he's played 8 games, like you mentioned, Jackie. But,
And it's funny that nobody even knows about Zellers because the other outlets haven't been hyping him. He's the best player going to win MVP in the USHL this year. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah, I was disappointed to lose him for sure. It feels like Casey Middlestat for Charlie Coyle should be enough of a deal.
Yes.
Like the add-ins are really frustrating there because Charlie Coyle is an old man who plays on the third line. He's he's probably like 32. He's not that old, but
he's
like,
33, just like Nelson.
Okay. So I like Charlie Coyle. I do, and I think he fits what they want to do with the third line really well. He's a guy who can play up when he needs to. You probably already covered a lot of this, but I was in a class, so I had to miss all of deadline. But
doesn't matter, baby.
Man, to get him to get him for a second round pick and Will Zellers, okay. To get him for Casey Middlestat, okay. But to get him for all 3, I'm like, we had to get 2 Charlie Coyles for that deal, and you didn't.
If that's what they had done, let's say they didn't do the Nelson deal at all, and this was the move they made to change their center makeup, I could be on board a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
They still had first. They still had Richie. This was their move to dip into the futures and address their 2C or whatever they want to call it. I could be way more on board. But to do that and the Nelson deal is just, it's pathetic, really.
See, that I don't agree with because I think Charlie Coyle as a second line center is not a solution. Charlie Coyle as a second line center is a downgrade on Casey Middlestat, if you ask me. He just doesn't have the upside that Middlestat does. He has the consistent baseline that Middlestat doesn't have either, but he doesn't have the upside. So taken in a vacuum, this trade on its own, if there were no other trades made in the last couple days, I think I'd be pretty disappointed because I don't like the cost of this trade, and I wouldn't like the roster with Coyle instead of Middlestat alone. Mm-hmm. With Coyle slotting in on the third line and Nelson on the second line, I feel like it's a clear upgrade.
we have ourselves a beachgoer joining the program right now. Evan Liu from the sunny, beautiful skies of wherever he presides right now. Evan, what a day, what a night. I'm sure like Brendan was pouring himself coffee like an hour ago and it was noon. Are you also hanging on by a thread today? I see you're wearing sunglasses, and your initial reaction to the dealings that the Avs have done since our reaction last night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still wearing the same clothes that from the show last night at
Same.
1 a.m. for me. So that's how it's going for me. We just got settled down here in Florida is where we are. But
You and Brad Marchand.
I know, right? That one was a little ridiculous. But about the Avalanche trades, because I'm still trying to catch up at least a little bit with them. Eric Johnson's home, which is kind of funny and nice. But I don't know if it covers up kind of the rest of the moves that the Avalanche have made. I haven't slept in forever, so I thought Charlie Coyle was a defenseman, and I was very excited about that. And then he's not. He is indeed not a defender. So.
Well,
again, more middle depth, right? But
well, look what Vaguely just said about you. He said Evan looks like how my hangover feels.
I'm sober. I promise. I'm
I'll
sober.
be there
I'm
tonight.
just tired.
We went to the liquor store, so I'll be there tonight. But just to say,
Jackie's gonna pour one out for Bo Byram and Cal Ritchie, and you're gonna be pouring them out all night.
For myself. I mean, they're still getting. They're not dead. They're still getting paid. Like, I'm not pouring it out for them.
Yeah, you're right.
But I'll say, okay, if Coyle's not good enough to replace Middlesex, Nelson's a rental. So just YOLO.
Yeah,
YOLO.
I mean,
honestly,
if they win a cup this year, you'll be happy about Nelson being here. But I mean,
I won't. I won't.
You don't want a cup?
I mean,
they happen. Even when we had Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg, they only won 2.
I have to make a decision on where my loyalty lies, and I'm just
going
to put it that way.
Stanley upstairs.
Yeah, mine's to these things.
And if they don't, what's the excuse?
I want to have another one. I want to put.
And is this the way to do it? Is this the way? See, this is my problem. Is I don't even believe this is the avenue to doing it right now. I don't think any of these moves for right now are going to do it for them.
Right.
Well, I want to
They haven't brought in a single needle-moving, cup-winning player.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have
Eric Johnson.
Yet Eric Johnson won the cup, though, baby. But Evan, I do want to.
I don't mean literally. They didn't bring someone in that won the Stanley Cup. They didn't bring someone in that's going to win them a Stanley Cup.
Oh,
I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but
use
like
the right language.
You just don't know that. You feel that, but you don't know.
But is that what I want? Do I want to watch Laundry and Mercenaries win a cup? That's what is important to me at this stage.
Let's ask Evan what he thinks about this conversation, because this is really the conversation to have right now if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, because we've seen the faces of this team, the scarf I'm wearing right now, the 2022 Avalanche team. We've seen the faces of that team really come and go. I think there's that picture where the team picture and they black out everyone who's not there anymore. There's like 2 or 3 guys still in color, Evan. So how do you feel about what Jackie's leaning towards with there's not a lot of staying value to this when there's so many mercenaries, guys coming in and out. Is this a type of team that you can get attached to emotionally and really get behind?
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned it last night too on the show, is that like the Avalanche don't usually make moves like they did with bringing on like Brock Nelson, right? That was kind of an overpay. I would agree that it's the same for Charlie Coyle here, and we haven't done that. Yes, it is, and it's just something that is. They need to kind of work that out, I guess. Sure, it's a different management style. I guess they're going about it a different way. And it's, I guess you have to get either adapted to it or you have to, I guess, kind of just go along with the ride, I guess. And yeah, like, I mean, I'm kind of with Jackie. Like, the future is very much in question, like 100%.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with that. So I don't know where
I
they
don't
go
think-
from here. If they
I
win
don't
a
think
Stanley
you're
Cup,
wrong.
great. But yeah,
And that's like I mentioned earlier, like the odds of that aren't in the favor of winning a cup. Like it's a difficult thing to achieve. I don't think though that I was in agreement heading into this that I thought the Avs should save their pennies for someday. But I'm also a sucker and I'm excited that the Avs are going all in again. I mean, as a fan, maybe I am short-sighted. I know I am. My wife knows I am too. So there's no debate there.
there's nothing wrong with people getting excited. I get that's why you're a fan.
Yeah.
And to me,
I have
that's
so many
part of the
short
question.
on
But
that
I
one.
was gonna if I was gonna be on board with just just have fun with it, then pick a fun player. Just then please
that's
have
a good
chosen a fun player.
So like you mentioned, like Marchand would have done that for you a little bit.
Well,
more.
I'm not saying my position would have been different, but I could have at least said, this is fun. I get why people think this is fun. I don't get why people think what has happened this year and this trade deadline and every other deadline except for when they got Lehkonen, who wasn't a rental. I don't understand why it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
To do something, to make changes.
Well, do you think that Sunday against Dallas is going to be fun?
Yeah, because I know what team I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I mean, but it made you pick a side, didn't it?
No, I mean, I might not even watch it. So,
all I'm
your
saying is
fandom, Jackie, is so interesting to me. It's so different than mine, and I everybody should do this the way they want to. It's just so interesting to me.
yeah.
Well,
This
it's
is
the
fun.
organization too. I get it. That's why you're a fan of a team. Most people are fans of a team, and that's the way it goes. I believe the organization themselves does not deserve that goodwill.
Okay. And I think that your perspective matters because you are one of the few people who does invest time and research into the younger guys. The guys
Oh
that
yeah,
are
and
in
I'm
the
done
system.
with that. Like the only prospect that I watched this year was Richie because I knew the others.
You had your heart broken.
The others are worthy. He was the last reason to have emotional investment in this team.
And that's your preference because you buy into the players and when they're
Well, I do
haven't
enjoy
quite
it. I
realized
enjoy
their
the
success. Yeah.
process. I enjoy learning about them. I'm not doing it just as a means to an end, but I also need to have a reason to invest my time. Like I enjoy watching other leagues that aren't the NHL. I think it gives you good perspective. I think the NHL, you get caught up in the narratives and about the money, and it's not because they're all out there for the pureness of their heart. It's just a different league.
Yeah.
And,
well, Brendan, what you got?
And I can't enjoy that anymore.
Well,
There's
speaking of
truly nothing
prospects,
to
that
enjoy.
William DeFore guy from last night has been assigned to the Eagles.
He's a contract throw-in. So I don't know if you guys talked about it last night, but
no, we didn't touch on him.
One game.
Ezra called him some guy.
Yeah,
I believe.
He's not even a prospect, quote unquote.
Yeah.
He's a third-year pro that got one game 3 years ago. It's a contract.
We got a trade alert here. Oh, that's still Scott Lawton to the Leafs. Nothing new. Nothing new
on the details.
Nothing new, but guys, something that is new is for the first time in Mile High Hockey Lab history, we are zeroing in on 10,000 live viewers, which is
and I'm sorry, every single one of you hate me. I'm sorry. I get it. I know I'm not fun. I know it's not what you want to hear.
I think,
but
like I've said before,
if anybody of you out there can identify with how I'm feeling and how I'm thinking, and this is not just today, this has been a long time coming, then I'm glad to be a voice for you.
Exactly.
But for the others that think I'm crazy and I'm disloyal, I'm sorry.
I don't think you're disloyal. I think
I'm loyal to something different than you might be.
Exactly. Because of the things that you prefer. Like Ezra said, your form of fandom leaves you here, which the way you fan is not, there's nothing wrong with it. It's your way. Everyone gets to fan however they want to. And you're right though. Like I'm one of those guys who every year, my only thought, and you guys know this, I write this in the roundtables, every roundtable we have, which is what is the expectation for the Colorado Avalanche this year? My answer every time is cup or bust. And that, Brendan, you chuckle, but that's, you know what the answer is in the room? the same thing, because if it's not the answer in the room,
I just
you're not coming to the table like you should. And
I just
that's
wish they were being given a team that could win a cup.
Well,
well,
It's your
that's the
dad.
okay.
I have that.
The,
We
the
don't know that.
16-17
We don't
team,
know.
I was definitely just glad that I was
There it
hopeful
is.
for 50
10,000
points.
guys. Sorry, Brandon. 10,000 live viewers. Congratulations, everybody. And thank you to the 10,000 of you who are tuned in live right now. That's a huge honor. Please head on over to our website, milehighhockey.com. Give us all a follow. Every single one of us has our preferred social media tag under our names. I'm joined right now by Ezra Parter, Brennan Vo, Evan Liu, and Jackie K. And I'm Adrian Hernandez. This has been a ton of fun. We are 10 or so minutes past the trade deadline. Brandon, I cut you off a little bit. Go ahead and continue what you're getting on
No,
there.
it's all good.
I wanted to cheers to our 10,000 viewers real quick.
Well,
I just feel like because you're doing stuff doesn't mean you're getting to your goal, that you're accomplishing your goal. The whole we're giving them a team because we believe in you guys, but you don't. If you believed in them, you wouldn't be so desperate.
Well, Brandon, you were talking about that 2016, 2017 team. Where were you headed there?
Well, it sometimes you just have to have realistic expectations.
Mhm.
So if you know what I mean, like, you know, it's like, oh, they had 48 points. It's like, let's just get to 50. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so
And they bought every year leading up to that. And that year they couldn't even sell anything.
Yeah. So it's
and then 5 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
It
It's
took
just
5
like,
years.
I'm more of a like when it comes to that type of thing, it's like not exactly cup or bust. It's just a realist, if that makes sense.
Should I put on all 3 of these jerseys that are worthless to me now?
Hey! You shut your mouth about Kadri.
What's the one? It's Kadri, Rantanen, and who?
There's Tanguay up there.
Oh, Tanguay. That's a great jersey.
If you guys remember, this was the last jersey he wore. He was traded the day after the Stadium Series against Detroit, of all teams.
Wow.
So I tried to get players. Kadri doesn't quite fit the profile. He wasn't traded. He just didn't get re-signed. But I have a Barry jersey, so I could have put that one on.
Which Barry?
I have an O'Reilly jersey. You could put that one on. So
there are
my
multiple
closet.
Barrys.
My closet is full. Yeah, Tyson Barrie for sure. Tyson Barrie.
Yeah,
Matt Cook. The Matt Cook season, unfortunately, is the year that I bought that Tyson Barrie jersey. That playoff series, in fact, is the year that I bought that.
Connor Timmins to Pittsburgh.
Connor Timmins, former Avs draft selection.
He was on the bingo card.
Yeah, another one. Well, I'm curious, Evan. You seem like you're pretty well down the middle right now. Me and Ezra, we're leaning towards heck yeah, let it ride, 29 and 8, time to go for it. You also got a really good goalie, just saying. But then, you know, Brandon and Jackie, I think, are heavily into stop leveraging your long-term assets. I think you have hairs of both of that going on in your thought process. Which to you are you more leaning towards, and which is more important to you, both in the here and now in the long term?
Man, why you gotta make me choose?
It's what we do around here, baby.
Because, like, yes, I agree. Like, it's obviously great that they are, you know, just kind of saying YOLO, as Jackie said, and just kind of going for it, right? You might as well, because you have Nathan McKinnon and Kel McCarr. But on the flip side of that, you're also like, and we've kind of gone through this process in the last few years where there's a significant amount of turnover within the team that just makes the future, you know, more muddy. You don't really know what's going forward with it. But I feel like this upcoming summer, more than any other summer, like Jackie said, you don't really have anything to look forward to coming down the pipeline with no Cal Ritchie. I mean, outside of that, you have Nabokov and Gulyayev, but I mean, at least the latter of those two, I'm not as interested in him anymore as compared to like Nabokov. But even then, that might not be much of a prospect going forward either, because the Avalanche have Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood now. So I guess I'll lean more to the Brennan and Jackie side of this, just because it is a business at the end of the day. But Yeah. Yeah. What's up?
Well, they did
He's still working at the same time.
Yeah, the NHL Live broadcast that's doing their NHL Tonight trade, recaps and everything. They just threw up a graphic of the Avalanche lines potentially, and it had, McKinnon centering the first line, obviously the typical first line: Lehkonen, McKinnon, Natchez, and it had Nichushkin, and then the newly acquired Brock Nelson at second line center, along with Drouin. And then your third line looks like pretty much it did, but you slot in Charlie Coyle and you bump Jack Drury down to that fourth line center place. And you have Kelly and Wood kind of as your extras, with Kiviranta and O'Connor filling out the rest of that group. So I ask you, Ezra, that forward group you mentioned earlier, like, it's better than it was. Is it good enough in your mind to compete with, say, I don't know, the potential first round matchup against the Dallas Stars?
I think it is. I think that's a forward lineup that for this season only, if we're not thinking about the future for now, for this season only, they put together a forward lineup that's competitive. I worry about Kiviranta as a third line winger, but he obviously has the trust of Bednar, and he scored a nice goal last night. He can score goals here and there. I think him with Coyle and Colton is a line that's going to give a lot of teams a lot of trouble defensively and on the forecheck. Are they going to score? Probably not. But you know what? That's okay if they hold up their end on the defensive end. I really like the top six. I think the top six is so good. Brock Nelson is very good. Jackie's point about not bringing in a player who feels like a Stanley Cup needle mover, I disagree with, because Brock Nelson is excellent. I think he's going to shine here. I think he's the more I did a lot more research after we did our episode last night, just because I really didn't think it was going to happen. So I hadn't prepped for a Brock Nelson acquisition. But I really believe that he is going to elevate his game in Colorado, because he's going to be freed up and supported by a much better system for his offensive production. So I'm really excited about that. I guess Miles Wood is going to have to find his game if he's in the lineup. Parker Kelly's going to have to find a way to control. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. The bottom of the lineup doesn't matter that much, because they're all really defensively sound. Mm-hmm. Whether they're going to score goals or not, man, probably not. But they're going to be defensively sound, and that top six can light it up. So
they got better in the center position in the bottom of the lineup, no doubt.
They did. Coyle is an upgrade at third line center. Coyle is a 3C who can play 2C in a pinch. They've been using a lot of 4Cs who can play 3C in a pinch.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. For a while now, in fact, they've been doing that. Yeah. So I think I'm with you in the sense that I think it is a forward group that can compete. I think I would still give Dallas the edge in terms of it. I mean, we swapped Mikko Ranson in, we brought Marty Natchez into the equation. But Brendan, I'm kind of curious as to what you think about that potential first round matchup with Dallas. Based on how the rosters look right now, what are your concerns, and what do you think the Avalanche can exploit, if anything?
Well, we know first round matchups with Dallas suck, first off. And it's sounding like Evander Kane is done for the year, at least during the regular season. So
he plays for Edmonton.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. They are pulling to Vegas, at least for now. But anyways, side note. And Sagan's, we know Duchesne is an Av killer now. We know Sagan's an Av killer, but is Sagan even going to come back? Because he's been on LTIR.
According to our chat, he's looking pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't been paying enough attention about Sagan to say, hey, he's coming back. And then I just hate Jamie Benn in the playoffs. I can't stand him. It's like in normal circumstances, he's okay. He's a great leader. He knows how to motivate and everything like that. But once you get him in the playoffs, he's just not great player. Okay, trade details for Eric Johnson is, thank God, Giovanni Smith.
Oh, there you go. That'll work.
Wow.
So
that was
you
a
guys-
giveaway.
yeah, that was a pure giveaway because Giovanni Smith has played 3 games, I think, for the Eagles, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's been a healthy scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So has
So-
Eric
So,
Johnson.
and on
Yes.
top of that, he's been suspended once.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this trade, and I think they're going to break even on the cap wise. So,
Well, Jackie, I forward you the question. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
at least for the remainder of the year. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Jackie, you've pointed towards the fact, but you haven't quite said it, that you know who you'll be rooting for, quote, is what you said. Is that a true sentiment? And explain, I mean, I think I know why, but like the question is to you now, how does that forward group stack up in comparison to Dallas's from your angle?
Well, you can't discuss Dallas without discussing who is top 5 in their scoring. You have to talk about their youth. They're not just kids. Jason Robertson's second in scoring. Wyatt Johnson's top 5. So I think you have to take that seriously. So they moved Stankoven. They still have Maverick Bork. I'd say Stankoven was 3rd out of that group. They still have Bork. So I think you need to take that seriously. They're not just the old Dallas anymore. So Heiskanen might be back around the beginning of the playoffs. We'll see if he's doing a Kucherov or not. I think their back end is built with mobility and kind of like how the Avs used to be, good puck moving, being able to create offense from the back end. So, I mean, let's put it this way. Dallas is fairly significantly ahead of the Avs without Rantanen. And they gave up probably their 8th scorer to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that should be a concern because they're already better than you. So I don't think Brock Nelson changes them adding Mikko Rantanen. So yes, they don't have a Nathan McKinnon or a Cale Makar, but they were already better than you without Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. So as far as where my loyalties are going to lie in the future, I probably won't discuss it after today because I do think it's a personal thing, and
That's fair.
Let that if you want to know how I truly feel moving forward, I'll leave that to your imagination.
I like it. I like it. Well, I for one see what you're saying in terms of like they got Mikko Rantanen, they got better, and the Avs got better too, but I don't know if it's to the same tune. We'll see. We'll see how. I mean, in the past, we've seen teams who look better on paper, who played better in the regular season, be the ones that lose the series. And I
know
do want to.
The hope's going to hinge on, well, you can't lose to Pete DeBoer every time, right?
Well, I joked on Twitter, was like, who's Pete DeBoer going to complain about flopping now that Mikko Rantanen is a part of the Stars? He can't plead to the refs to make
we
more
have
calls
Islanders
or no calls.
Bruins, so they've been known to be a little. I think they'll find a way.
Yeah,
individual players though.
Yeah, I think they will find a way as well. But
Okay.
Evan,
EJ trade is going to net 200,000.
Okay, so they got like
on our end
1.8 still left over, but I don't know. It seems
well,
like...
that's not right because Smith was not on our payroll. So if you're adding EJ to the NHL roster, you're not taking off the NHL roster.
Yeah, because Giovanni was at 800K. EJ is at 1 mil.
Is it 1-for-1 Smith for Johnson? I haven't seen this anywhere.
Yeah. Correct.
But Smith's already buried, so it's a straight up add 1 million.
He was with the Eagles and hadn't even been playing with the Eagles anyways. And I had been asking Kevin McGlue about him in the last recent games. And I'm like, do you think he's even gonna play again this
Yeah.
year? And
Most
well,
answer.
and his honest response was like, I really don't know. And
Yeah.
when the play-by-play announcer and the PR guys, like, it doesn't even think about that. It's just
Well,
yeah.
I want to give Evan a question. Something that Ezra brought up last night in our immediate reaction to the Nelson trade was we're seeing other GMs make these moves, and those moves aren't being met with the same tune that some Avs fans are meeting McFarland's trades with. Can you
Because
allude?
they have a development system and this isn't literally everything.
Oh,
That's
burn.
why.
This question
Okay.
was for Evan.
Yeah, I was.
Just-
Okay. We know how Jackie feels in terms of this question. Evan, how do you feel? Why is it different? Do you agree with Jackie? I guess.
To be honest, I didn't even think of that as an answer. I was just going to say more so that Avs fans are spoiled and have scrutinized every little thing that this front office has done. I think that's kind of more of it than anything. But of course, every single fan base has people like that, right? So
Mhm.
maybe it's just more vocal, at least in that sense. And maybe I think part of it too might just be because Chris McFarland has made so many moves this season alone, right?
Yeah.
So that that puts even more attention onto the team and onto the front office and all that sort of stuff. So like I don't read too much into that, I guess, because hockey social media and more specifically Avalanche social media is just in a nutshell wild.
I don't think any other team has made that many moves off the NHL roster this year.
No,
First of all,
aside
that's
from
why
like
it's
true sellers.
desperation. If you believe in your team, when the Avs had the team to win the cup, they worried about changing too much, right? They said these guys have earned the right to go for it. We only just want to add a couple pieces here and there. So that's another reason why they should be getting criticism, is because you're making this many changes is unusual. It's unusual to have 2 draft picks on your team. It's unusual to have maybe at most 4 homegrown players on your team. It's unusual to make that many trades. It's unusual to have no futures and no prospect pool. I mean, it truly is. There's no prospect pool anymore. That's why is the sun going out June 1st? Is the NHL going to exist 6 months from now? That's why it's unusual.
Well, yes, but if you also look at the last 2 cup winners are Florida and Vegas, right? And both of those teams were built through trades and free agency. That's just a fact. Florida has had Barkov and Ekblad as their 2 homegrown pieces, but
they have
and
Anton Lindell, and this year they have Samoskevich.
Sure, but the reality of that roster is it was built through trades and free agency in the same way that this one is for Colorado. I just think
did they have to make 6 desperate? I mean, it's more now. What, 8, 10 desperation trades in a year?
No, but they took a team that had won the President's Trophy and said we're going to trade our top scorer and one of our top 2 defenders for Matt Tkachuk, which is you could look at that and say, oh, that's desperate. Why are they trading for Matt Tkachuk, who wants out of his old team? Right? There were a lot of naysayers to that trade, but it worked out pretty well. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to say that everything that Avs front office does is good, but I am here to say we don't know that it's bad yet. I get where you're coming from, Jackie, 100%. And I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong. I'm just trying to say there is an opportunity for this to work. It's not the sky is falling. It's the sky has changed.
Yeah. I summed it up last night. I just think it's a lot of
blind faith to have blind faith.
Yeah,
and that's fine. That's what fans do, have blind faith. But
I don't think it's blind though. I don't want to be put into that corner because I don't think I'm being blind. I see a team that is better than it was 6 months ago. You have a goalie that the 2022 team did not have a Mackenzie Blackwood. They didn't. I mean, they had Pavel Francois really in the second round is what really did their thing. Francois, sorry, Brandon, my bad. The goalie room is hugely refortified. The center group is monumentally refortified. You still have the two of the four best, arguably, players in the world on your team. To dismiss those factors and just say that no, there's no chance they're not winning the cup, to me, that's also blind, because you can't just look away from this historic season that Cale Makar is having, despite coming in with injuries and dealing with them throughout the season. You can't just look away from Nathan MacKinnon turning one MVP season into a Four Nations MVP, into potentially another MVP season, and think that doesn't move the needle in and of itself. Those guys are getting better too. This isn't like Nathan MacKinnon is the same Nathan MacKinnon in 2022. He's better, especially after that Four Nations experiment. Look at how good he is at the faceoff dot now that he's forced to be taking faceoffs, and that he unlocked something in that Four Nations. And he's well over 50% now at the dot. And we brought in other guys who are good on the dot. Nelson is having a career year at the dot, which I know faceoffs aren't the end all be all of hockey, but situational faceoffs are. In special teams, they are. We saw on the Avalanche beautiful tic-tac-toe tick goal. Ooh. MacKinnon won the draw in the zone, and that's what set up the whole play, because they're able to gather and you save time on the power play. We haven't even talked about that, about how the power play was this huge scourge of our existence. And then Avalanche made all of these moves and had guys come back. And now all of a sudden it's the second best, now the best in the NHL since the trade from Mikko Rantanen left. That's not a made up stat. That's a real thing.
How many games is that? Like,
it's
10,
enough.
15?
It's as many as everyone else, basically. So it's and everyone has had the same opportunity to put up numbers in that regard. And the Avalanche are doing it. The Avalanche, I get it was the San Jose Sharks, but their power play success is not exclusive to that. They've had playoffs or power play success this entire homestand since Nichushkin came back. We know the numbers, power play specific, when Nichushkin is on the ice, and it's shown again, which is its own wild card. But I cannot just like sit here and think and let us say that this isn't a team that's capable of winning the cup without a doubt. That is not something I'm comfortable with adhering to be quite fair. I will 1000% acknowledge the fact that this is a nearsighted, short-sighted year. They are making decisions in that vein, and I agree that there are consequences to that. But to just dismiss the risk and say it's a sunk cost and that they won't realize any success, to me is also a little bit blind, because that hasn't happened yet. And if it does, I know right now, Jackie, you say if they win a cup, it still doesn't matter. Well, to me, it does. I'm
sure it will to a lot of people. Yeah. But so what I have to say to this is where Avs fans are spoiled is thinking they're the only ones that have two world-class players. So having two world-class players hasn't won Edmonton a cup. Having two world-class players hasn't won Toronto a cup. So I know that having two very special pieces is very important to this organization and to Avs fans. But it comes out even in the attitude of Mikko, like, oh, why would he want to leave here? Because this isn't the only team with two world-class players. There's better teams. Look at the standings. It's not a fluke. Are the Avs better than they were 3 days ago? Sure. 3 days ago, they were a team fourth in their division. So how much better? Where does that scale go? So yes, I can agree with you all. In collectively, in the aggregate, are they better than they were? I still don't know if they're better than they were when they had Mikko, though. I don't think that's a lateral move still. So if I'm going to agree with that, I still have to take that into consideration. But if you're adding pieces, are they better than they were when they were fourth in division? Sure. But what does that mean? Do I think they're better than Dallas? No. Mm-hmm. And that's just the truth of the matter.
Right. But the beauty of it is that they have to play the game. And within all the mystery of this vigilantism or what did you call it? Gun for hire, mercenary. There it is. That's the one I'm looking for. Within all that is way too much mystery to be making any definitive claims right now, because you're totally right. It could not work at all. The Avs could waffle out of the regular season, barely make it in the second wild card, and lose in the first round. And all of this feels like it was for naught. You're 100% correct. There's also the reality that exists that it does work. and the Avs do make a playoff run, the Avs maybe beat some teams like Dallas, because it's looking like they're going to have to if this is a true reality. And if they do that, it's going to look, you can say Dallas is a better team on paper, but they're not a better team in the result if the Avalanche end up beating them. We thought the Avalanche were a better team on paper going into the Kraken series a couple years ago, and that wasn't the case. So that's the beauty in all of this, and why I'm excited is that I put it this way last night. McFarland isn't leaving anything up to the hockey gods. He's putting his fingers and his hands into this, and it's his job to try and control as much as he can control. Now, we are getting into the hour and a half that we said we were going to do, and it does feel like the trades have kind of subsided so far. I haven't seen anything beyond the EJ as it pertains to the Avalanche. But,
yeah,
Evan, I want to go, and I want to keep these answers brief so that everybody can give their grade. But, Evan, letter grades here. What's your grade for the Avalanche at this trade deadline? And we'll actually expand it. Let's say we'll grade them on all their moves this season to include what's happened at the deadline.
Oh man. Well, yeah. First off, thanks for hosting this and cutting it short, or at least coming to an end, because I'm about to fall asleep over here.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
not
I'm
your
feeling
fault.
that.
It's been a long.
I'm right there with you, my friend.
It's been a long,
sure you
long
can see it in my
last few
eyes.
days. If we're counting the entire season when it comes to grades, just because there have been so many trades with so many different, things, I guess, to worry about and trying to control, like, it's so hard to put a number or like a letter on it that I feel like can lean one way or another. So that's why I'm gonna go with like a C. I could say like a C minus. It was definitely trending upward, when Blackwood and Wedgwood were traded here, and then Georgiev and Aninin were traded out. But then you look at kind of the moves that they made the rest of the way with Mikko Rantanen going away, and now, of course, now with a Western Conference team again after trading him after the Eastern Conference. Not really a fault of the Avalanche, but you could have signed him for $12 million by 8 years. I'm just saying.
Sounds like they couldn't.
Yeah.
And
Who knows?
like when you look at like these moves that they've made within this last week, when it comes to them looking more like desperation, and like I said last night, they don't usually make moves like this where they will pay a first rounder and a prospect for a Brock Nelson, or they'll pay a Casey Middlestat and a prospect and a pick for a Charlie Coyle. Like that's where that grade definitely falls for me, like for sure. So I would say like C minus in that range, personally.
Okay. C minus. Ezra, where you stand?
I thinking about only this year, I would give them a higher grade than I'm going to give them, because I do like what they've done for this year's team. I don't like that it took so many pieces of the future to get there. And I also don't like that they're really relying on a bounce back healthy playoffs from Josh Manson, which I know they kind of are stuck doing that because his contract is not movable. But I felt like the defense needed one more piece, and Eric Johnson is not it. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like I could go higher than a B. And I'm going to go B.
Okay. I think that's a fair thing, because I was waiting for that defensive addition to roll through, as I mentioned earlier, and it apparently is not going to happen, as I don't see many trades being reported anymore. So I got Evan giving them a C minus and Ezra giving them a B. Jackie, what's your letter grade, GM letter grade for the year 24-25? Those moves specifically.
Well, you probably all expect me to say F.
No, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know what I expect, to be honest with
F feels high for you.
you.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, do they deserve a D just based on the goaltending working out, even though I think it's still a little early, because they've invested a lot in Blackwood. Like, he's been good. Like, I have absolutely no problem with how he's been. I don't think he's been the savior either. But
Well, to your credit, Georgiev was good. He was an all-star for a moment there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not...
but Blackwood's been, what you've expected. He's met expectations, at least.
Yeah, totally.
It's just for me, you can't evaluate a move just on the move. You have to look at the financials. Just like I'm not evaluating the net chest part because that boy still needs a contract, which is going to heavily influence, any sort of evaluation I have. But I'll say a D for right now. I don't mind the goaltending part of it. It still was expensive, but I think it has worked out to this point.
Okay.
Wedgwood's health is a little iffy, I will say. I think that's a little bit of a concern. Otherwise, I just really don't think they've gotten better per se at all.
Okay. So we got a C or C minus, a B, and a D. Brandon, what's your letter grade for 2024-25 so far?
I'd say B if you include all the goalies and things like that. I'm with Jackie on Wedgwood's health, because I've been watching him after practices and he does a awful lot of stretching, but that may be a habit that he's had for his whole career. We don't know that. But I mean, I like the moves today. Coyle's gonna add depth scoring and grit to the bottom six. And how can you not like EJ? If you don't like EJ, there's something wrong with you.
I mean, the deal's fine. Smith is nothing.
I mean, it gets
like
rid of
EJ,
a player who's not even playing. So
I love the person. I don't want him to have to play a lot.
Exactly. It costs nothing, so you can't. There's no negative to it. It's just I can't really get behind an ornament as being great, but it costs nothing, so whatever.
Yeah,
but I still think it's an ornament.
We all knew that if EJ wasn't going to come back this year as in a trade, that he was going to end up probably doing like another year at League Men and coming back next year.
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty likely,
which in my personal opinion, and this is just because I've watched him for so many years, he's worth more than League Men, like $1 million or 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
But we got him for a steal because Smith is just not great. Let's just be honest.
Well, we just surpassed 12,000 live viewers on our trade deadline special, which is a crazy number, man. That's just such a humbling figure. Thank you folks so much for tuning in and choosing us in this window of time for your trade deadline coverage with an Avs focus. I do want to just give a quick recap. We've had our ticker running across the bottom of the screen, but the Avalanche made a trade last night. Brock Nelson in exchange came to Colorado in exchange for Cal Ritchie with the first and the third. And then today they've made a move for Charlie Coyle, in which they sent Casey Middlestat among, I believe, another pick, a prospect that you guys hate. That
Will Zellers.
Yeah, Zellers. So that kind of sums up what the Avs did today. They did not make a move for a defender outside of course, returning the Condor to the Colorado Avalanche, which is a feel-good story. We'll see how effective it is, or if it's effective at all, other than kind of just to do the guy a solid. He's not played a lot over there. He's played 22 games this season, so we'll see if he adds to that here in Colorado. But that just kind of leaves me to give my grade. To recap, y'all's, Evan, you gave a C or C minus. Ezra, you gave a B. Jackie, you gave a D. And Brennan, you gave a B. Both Brennan and Ezra, you guys mentioned the goalie situation and how that affects your letter grade. I agree with you, and I think it affects the letter grade a little more significantly than we're giving credit, because I don't blame Avalanche fans for not realizing how important it is to have really good goaltending, or how impactful it can be, especially in the playoffs, because it's been such a long time, pretty much since Varlamov, since we've had a goalie who could truly steal a playoff game. And I think that is in place right now. I know that it's not been a lot of time, but I think I've seen enough personally from Blackwood to be very confident in how he can affect things going forward. And that's a part of this equation that I feel the Avs the fans of the Avs aren't quite considering to the full weight that they should. And based on that, I'm going to give them basically a B plus. I can't give them an A because they traded my favorite player. So that's just out of the woods for me. But I'll give them a B plus because I think they're in a position to do exactly what they've made the moves to attempt to do, which is give another kick at the can. That's argued. That can be argued, I'm sure, but that's just where I'm at. So my grade is a B plus, which pretty much brings us. Let me see what that averages out to. When we,
I'm surprised you gave him a B. I definitely thought you'd do an A. Just
I-
do A, B, C, D. I thought that's
Yeah.
what we were going for.
Cover
So
all our
we-
bases.
yes, exactly. Well, there's still part of, like I said, there's still a part of me that's hurt for the same reason why Brandon and Jackie are upset about Cal Ritchie is why I'm upset about the Avs trading Mikko Rantanen, but they did, and here we are. And to me, it's kind of just time to move on as far as that's considered, and especially now that he plays for Dallas, because we definitely don't have a choice anymore but to move on. That pretty much puts us at like a C grade on average for the Colorado Avalanche in 2024-25. So yes, Evan, you were the one who came in closest to our average. Before we go, is there anything any of you want to bring to the table that we haven't discussed so far today?
I've
I'm
been
surpri-
awake for about 20 hours and I'm ready to go. Or not, no, more than that. Sorry, like 36
Well,
hours.
Evan,
I'm
if
ready
you
to go
got to
to bed.
sign off, bro, don't. We won't be upset with you. So, or if you just want to go to sleep right now, live on camera, that's fine too. No one will say anything. I might scream loud into the microphone if I see a cat coming across the screen like they usually do. But
I would be
you know.
concerned if there's a cat at this
In Florida.
vacation house that we're at.
Yeah.
It'd be cool, but no, I've been almost falling asleep here. But it also just means that the Avalanche have been doing good things and keeping me busy. So
They've been working.
I guess good on them for that part.
Jackie, you sounded like you had something to bring to the table.
I'm a little surprised that the middle step part of this, and Ezra definitely touched on getting Coyle's a downgrade from middle stats. So Ezra definitely touched on it, but I think we kind of glossed that over too in talking about if they've improved or not. I don't really think you guys have given your take because I know that you all believed in Middlestat more than I did. He did have, not insignificant production for the Avs. So I think that moving on from him does have some implications. So I think maybe that part needs to be fleshed out a little bit. Not for me. Everyone knows how I feel about Middlestat. But from you all that haven't touched on that, how does that piece of moving on from him impact your view on how the team's improved?
I feel like it wasn't a lateral move. I think you guys are right. I think it was a slight downgrade in certain respects. I think that the Avalanche realized something, that Casey Middlestat isn't the 2C that they want, but nor does he fit the profile of a 3C that they want. And they were willing to save a little bit of money and take a little bit of loss in terms of talent to satisfy those roles in particular. Because I think on a playoff team in particular, bigger, heavier body, somebody who could be a net front presence on the third line, and somebody who can kill penalties, yada, yada, get in front of pucks, fits better in that 3C role. And those things are not descriptive of Casey Middlestat. I mean, we talked about Casey Middlestat's fit in a role where he's the 2C. You slot him down to 3C and you consider what that role really requires, and that doesn't really fit him either. So I think just skill set wise, it was just kind of a pivot. And I think you've seen that across the board from the Avalanche. We've seen them get older, more physical, and bigger in this window of opportunity. And so I think the other kicker in that is the character they're adding, which I know that doesn't show up on the stat line, but it does in a ipso facto way. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's more in line with what it has to do, getting a little more sandpaper character and a person who fulfills that 3C role, like a little bit more like a square peg in a square hole, rather than how we described Casey as a round peg in a square hole.
And I guess does it concern you what Coyle's older too?
Yeah,
right.
That's
So I think I mentioned on our last show that I feel like they've been trying to stick around at least McKinnon's age, and now like they're totally into the 30s.
Gone. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another, I think, short
Well,
term.
they're both 1 year more than this, and the other is a pending UFA. So they're 33, but there's no long-term implications really right now.
Yeah, and you probably want Nelson to be the one with an extra year, not Coyle, which is so,
Probably.
and that's unfortunately not the situation. I'm trying to see if Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson played together at all, in like with like Team USA and junior, and not juniors, in like World Juniors or something. Because I wonder if there's some like reuniting two buds going on here that could maybe be like, hey, so Brock, stick around another year. We got Charlie. You know, I don't know. I'm just speculating.
I thought it was
I don't-
funny that they were like, "Hey, these guys are best friends with Middlestat." I'm like, "Might not matter."
Yeah, no, that seemed crazy because Lindgren coming in was a sign that Middlestat was going out. I thought so. Yeah, that didn't hook up for me. But well, I thought it was a precursor to a Brandon Carlo move, which I don't even like Brandon Carlo that much. I don't know why I got so obsessed with this, but I was so sure it was going to happen. But
They were on a World Junior team together in 2011.
okay,
Brock Nelson
so
and
that's
Charlie
not
Coyle.
really significant, but it is something. I don't know. For me, Middlestat had so much potential. He has so much upside, but he just couldn't do what was being asked of him. And for him to be a third line center would not have worked. It would not have been a serviceable third line to do what Colorado needs it to do. So I get the move from Middlestat to Coyle. And like I said earlier, if that was 1-for-1, awesome. That's a great deal for, honestly, I think both teams, because Boston gets a chance to find a second line center who can actually make a difference for them, who's young, who has some upside, and Colorado gets what it needs for this season. But to have to pay extra for that really bites.
Yeah, you talked about that ask and how you
Yeah.
would really prefer just one or two
Because
portions
he's
of
the
it,
best. I will
not the
say
whole
he
piece,
is the best
every
player in
piece.
the deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And it's the second time this season Colorado has sent the best player in a deal. And it's hard to win trades like that. I do still like the Rantanen for Natchez and Drury swap. I think I get it and it makes sense. And the pieces that they used allowed them to do all of the pieces that they added with those guys allowed them to do all this, which has made a roster I'm more confident in. But I said at the time of that trade, it had to be that second round draft pick had to be to bolster the defense. And I just don't think Ryan Lindgren is enough there. We'll see. We'll see. Early returns on Lindgren are he's continued to have terrible analytics. So it's one game, so that's not really fair. But it's man, I'm not convinced on the defensive side of things here. But I like the forward group.
Yeah. I do think there's fair questions to be raised about that Coyle trade in terms of what the ask was. I think that is reasonable. I wonder if the Avs found themselves wanting to fill that role and willing to do it, knowing that Coyle might have had other suitors and the Bruins might have had other suitors for Coyle. And so they sweetened it up and the Bruins said, sounds good. That's the way these things go. I'm curious if Chris McFarland looks like Evan right now, where he's about to fall asleep, but still going strong. And with that, honestly, I think I'll let you all have your final thoughts if you would like to, if you want to just keep it brief. If not, if you want to keep it long, go for it as well. But we'll give our final thoughts on the day and kind of just wrap things up here on the Mile High Hockey Lab NHL trade deadline special of 2025. Folks, go give us a follow at all caps MHH_lab on X and all at Mile High Hockey. And of course, follow my esteemed colleagues here, Ezra Parter, Brennan Vogt, Evan Liu, and Jackie K, and myself, Adrian Hernandez, on our preferred social media platforms. And head on over to the website as we're approaching 13,000 live viewers. Head on over to our website and get all of our written material and sign up and log in and be a part of our community over there. That's truly the most comprehensive form of Mile High Hockey coverages if you become a member of the site. So please head on over and do that. And of course, if you like this broadcast, we have 95 other episodes and like 4 or 5 bonus episodes because of how many trades and signings the Avs have done this season. And those are all available on Spotify and your preferred podcast platform. So if you prefer to listen later on, or you want to go back and see all the dumb things we've said that have turned out wrong, to include, once again, this year, Ado was on the hill of Sidney Crosby becoming an Avalanche. And yes, once again, it hasn't happened. So that's my sign off. I don't deserve to have a sign off. I just get to be the guy who says thank you to the 4 of you. And I will promise to bring up Crosby again next year. Evan, go first. Oh, that's Evan's final word is he is going to sleep. All right, Evan, that's fine. Thank you for your service, my friend. We love you, dog. Have a good one. Ezra, your final thoughts today.
Stay optimistic, friends. I think there's a lot to like here. We need a healthy defense. That's the big key thought I have now. It's up to everybody to stay in the lineup because there's not a lot behind them. But yeah, it's going to be a fun playoff.
Yep. We'll see if that first round, it's going to be fun on Sunday when the Avs welcome the Dallas Stars, their newly acquired winger, Mikko Rantanen. Jackie, your final thoughts on this NHL Deadline Special 2025. Your favorite episode of the year, I might add.
Just that they...
you got to give me a chuckle on that one. Go ahead, sorry.
Just that they borrowed from Makar and McKinnon's legacy for instant gratification.
All right. I mean, that pretty much sums up your take this year. And I respect it because I respect you, Jackie. Thank you for coming on and being that voice for some of the folks who might agree with you. Brennan, what about you? What are your final thoughts here, my friend? You look either frozen or tired or both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't exactly agree with the Cal Ritchie going and the YOLO idea, but if this is what it takes to win the cup, and then making it that much more difficult to win it in 2 to 5 years, so be it.
Yeah, I like it. Ezra, your final thoughts today.
Oh, I'll give another set of thoughts. I think.
Oh, you already gave yours. Sorry.
Yeah, he said, "Please, defense, stay healthy."
Guys, I'm also very tired right now. Oh my goodness, holy moly!
It's all good.
Yeah,
I won't
be optimistic.
Myself. Stay optimistic,
be
friends.
optimistic.
Hockey's
That's
more
right.
fun
That's
when
right.
you think that your team is good.
Yeah, I agree. Well, folks, that I think will do it for us today on Trade Deadline Day, March 7th, 2025. We've been live for about 2 hours now. We've been graced by the presence of about 12,000 of you. And it means a lot to us that you folks would choose us today for your Avs focused coverage. Please head on over to our website, like I've already spieled a million times. And I don't want to hammer that to death because this has been a great show. I do want to thank, though, Ezra Parter and Jackie K and Brendan Vogt for joining me. We've done 3 episodes in 4 days, so it's been a lot. And
thank you for listening to us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys and Jackie for making it happen no matter what. Because we're not plugged in enough to know when these deals are going to go down, and we're just kind of waiting. So that sort of response really means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to those folks who are watching right now. So on behalf of the Mile High Hockey Lab and on behalf of Ezra, Brennan, and Jackie, my name is Adrian Hernandez. And until next time, which will be next week sometime, we will return to our weekly episodes. Go Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.